Why are you trying to force something that God never intended for you to have? Why are you trying to force something that God never intended for you to have? Many of you are trying to force relationships. You're trying to force that man or that woman to like you, to love you, to stay with you. Some of you are chasing men. You are chasing that woman. And some of these people have made it clear that they don't want anything to do with you. But yet you are still trying to force something that God never intended for you. Do you know you waste time and you waste precious time and the ability for the Lord to send you what he has for you when you try to force something that God never intended for you to have? His divine and perfect will for your life, because you are trying to force something or someone that God never intended for you. You know, some of you are chasing men that God never intended for you. That man has made it clear that he's not interested. He's made it clear that he doesn't want to pursue anything further with you, but you keep forcing the matter. You keep trying to force this man to like you. You're trying to force this woman to like you. You're trying to force this man to love you when he told you he's not interested. Don't settle for something that God never intended for you to have. When you settle for things that God never intended for you to have, it brings frustration. It brings disappointments. It brings turmoil. It brings no peace, because it's something that God never intended for you to have. He never intended for you to be in that relationship. He never intended for you to date that guy. He never intended for you to date that woman, because that wasn't in his divine will. That wasn't in his divine plan. But you're forcing something that God never intended for you to have. Stop begging people to be with you. Stop trying to force relationships when people have made it clear that they're not interested, that they don't want anything to do with you. They don't call you, they don't text you, they don't ask you to go out because they're not interested. So stop trying to force something that's not intended for you. Don't do that. Be patient. Wait for what God has for you. Wait for the doors that God has for you to go through. And stop forcing things and stop forcing people to be with you that God never intended for you to have. Don't forget that. Don't force anything that God has not intended for you.